Dumbledore, 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 Dumbledore.
Look out.
Look out for Dumbledore.
Look, he's falling out that window right now.
Harry! No!
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
I did some advocacy?
Some civil dutying.
Yeah, I went and deputed. It's not deputised.
No, it's not deputised.
No. I went and told the local council what for.
Yeah, and what 5?
And what 6.
But under 3 minutes.
There was quite a lot of text in that 3 minutes.
Yes. But you got it in.
Yeah, in 2.5 minutes somehow.
And some of them even listened to you.
Yeah.
So that was good.
And some of them completely ignored one of the points that I'd made, but, you know, that's...
Oh, dear. They only wanted to see the points that they wanted to see. So, what's the point?
It's not a Christian prayer. We designed it not to be a Christian prayer. Okay, so who was involved in drafting this neutral prayer? Was it white Christian men? Because I have a feeling it might have been white Christian men.
Yes.
Setting aside the secular organisation point that I don't think anybody really covered during the course of the meeting, but...
I suspect it will be well and truly brought up in the
review in April.
Yes, the review in April. You did well. The link's in the show notes.
No, it's not. I sat through 3.25 hours of council, so you didn't have to.
I was going to put the link to exactly where you start doing your...
No, we're not going to do that.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, there was the few days of anxiety leading up to that.
Yes.
And then immediately after that, the anxiety went away. And that was nice.
Yes. It was nice for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then... No, that was basically my week, because the agenda went out on Thursday, before we'd even put out last week's episode, and I was like, am I doing this? I think I'm doing this. Yeah, okay, let's get this over with.
Yep, you did good.
And then it wasn't gone over with for another 4 days.
Yes, 4 days of pacing. It was great. Very special.
Yeah, sleep was difficult. Had the wording basically all done, but I'm lying in bed and I'm still going through it, and it's like, just let me sleep, please. Please. Anyway, you.
Me?
How are you?
I haven't been up to much. I have rejiggered the networking in the house. That seems to be working fine now, whereas it wasn't.
But no guarantees on that front.
No, but I've certainly seen improvements in things that I was having difficulty with. So that is good. We shall see.
It's been an ongoing disagreement about the best possible setup and whether it's even achievable.
Yes, but the previous before I rejiggered it, I had certain devices that would completely lose connection with the Wi-Fi system and would doggedly refuse to reconnect, such that I would have to restart the devices. And
But
it's
again,
not doing that.
Again,
It is not doing that. No,
there are no guarantees that this problem will not recur.
I'm confident. I'm feeling confident.
I'm baffled that it would work somehow.
I did numerous tests, especially on this particular phone, where if I disconnected deliberately and then went to reconnect, it would find the network, say it was trying to connect, and then go searching again and try to connect, and search again and try to connect. And this was after resetting the device and things like that. And it wouldn't even let me... it was just crazy.
Well, I never had any problems.
No,
so.
But other people in the house did,
Mm.
and they're so far reporting no problems. But yes, it is early days. We shall see. We'll give you an update on the mesh mess.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, I've got nothing. Done a bit of walking, but and getting wet in the rain. Other than that, no, nothing. So we shall move on. We have a lengthy film to watch.
We do.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking that I didn't have any ideas, and so I...
And this is on your list because you have not seen it before.
I'm not, no.
Which I'm glad I remembered, because I was going to mention a few things that I will withhold mentioning until after we've watched the film, rather than before. What are we watching this week?
We are watching the 2012 film, The Amazing Spider-Man.
10 years.
10 years. 2012, an interesting year for superhero film. The Avengers came out in 2012.
Ah, wow.
Which was when Disney started distributing everything Marvel, except for the Iron Man films, which I believe even the third was still with Paramount.
Yeah, I think you're right. So it's been that long.
Yeah, universe
makes me feel old.
Spinning up.
Yes.
But this is not a Marvel Cinematic Universe film.
No.
Spider-Man wouldn't show up until 2016 in Civil War, so 4 years out. Instead, what we have is a film produced largely by Sony, as opposed to the sort of 50-50 workload that would come when Spider-Man came to the MCU. Because Sony, for a number of years, have held the film rights to Spider-Man, much to Disney and Marvel's consternation.
Yep.
But that's how it is.
And I know that for numerous years it was a case of you had to use it or lose it. And so every couple of years there would either be another Spider-Man film in the current franchise or a reboot. And that is what this is.
And the Spider-Man's quote-unquote solo appearances in the MCU are still dictated by whatever Sony thinks is good scheduling.
Yep. All right. So, for those of you who have been living under trees and not under skyscrapers, would you tell our dear listener what this film is about according to the plot synopsis on the back of the case?
Teenage social outcast Peter spends his days trying to unravel the mystery of his own past and win the heart of his high school crush, Gwen Stacy. A mysterious briefcase belonging to his father, who abandoned him when he was a child, leads Peter to his dad's former partner, Dr. Connors. The discovery of his father's secret will ultimately shape his destiny of becoming, quote, Spider-Man, unquote, and bring him face to face with Connor's villainous alter ego, the Lizard.
The Lizard! All right. That's what we're watching.
It is.
Thomas is going to take it out of its case because it's not freely streaming on any of the services that we are subscribed to.
I feel like under one of the various deals that Sony and Disney have been making over the years, it will eventually wind up on Disney+, but
okay. But it is not currently.
It's not there now, no.
No, so we're watching it on glorious DVD resolution, which is fine for my eyes anyway.
Yeah.
He's going to take it out of its case, and then he's going to put it into the machine. We're going to watch this film, then we're going to come back and talk about it. So we'll catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
No, you can't swing from skyscraper to skyscraper if you're upside down.
I think you might be able to.
No, you can't, you mongrel.
I think it's entirely possible.
It's not. So, what did you think?
That was reasonable. I don't have a lot to say about it, but it was perfectly reasonable.
Why do we do this? Good.
Yeah, this was a choice that I made to put it on the list. I think the only reason it was on the list was because I hadn't seen it, and it was an excuse to see it. And,
so, how does it stand up to what has come before and what has come since? I know that's a very divisive question, but...
It's been a while since I've seen any of the Raimi films.
Yep.
I don't think it holds a candle to the MCU work.
Yep, fair enough. I had forgotten how much I appreciated Andrew Garfield's performance.
Oh, it's a good performance.
Yeah. He's
just not Tom Holland.
The poor soul. having to... he makes a great Spider-Man, but he's no Tom Holland. And then Toby is sort of left...
They're all good. Just only one of them is Tom Holland.
Yes. Admittedly, the vibe that I'm getting is that you didn't take too many notes.
I didn't take any notes.
Great, this is going to be a short episode. Yeah. I took very few too. One of the major ones was what actually took me out enough to take a note. Because I was actually quite immersed in that. I really love that particular world that it's in. For all the swinging from the sky, it's quite grounded, I think. But the thing that took me out was there was a scene happening, a swinging scene, and then suddenly, bam, I hear a fanfare from Star Trek.
Right.
I think, good grief, that's James Horner-ish. So I had to pick up the phone and Google.
Guess who composed for this film?
Well, the funny thing is, I went to IMDb, of course, to check, and brought up Amazing Spider-Man, and then brought up cast and crew, and then as it came up, it said original music, and clicked on that, and James Horner. And I'm thinking, that wasn't original. He's ripped himself off, as he does very, very often. There are a number of soundtracks that rip off Star Trek, or it may well be that there's some other soundtrack prior to that is woven throughout his compositions. But yeah, it was distracting, which is unfair on everything. The line, "I'm swinging here."
Yep.
I think it's Midnight Cowboy. I think I'm walking here.
I'm walking here. Let's see here. Yeah, Midnight Cowboy is the first thing that comes up here.
Yeah. It was brilliant. But the absolute brilliance, I thought, was how incredibly tight and incredibly impressive the final end flying sequence was, where he launched... out of the arm of a crane, and then from there on in, just the camera work and the swinging through bits and pieces, it was done very, very well. And then it went into slow motion, and he aimed his web shooter right at the camera, and it started coming out, and so you're thinking, Webb, and then directed by Mark Webb came up on the screen.
It doesn't even come particularly close to the lens in the end.
No.
This is I've shot a little bit, and we're done now.
I really had a good time with that, And I've seen it fairly recently, once the younger kids had been exposed to the Tom Holland scenario. I said, right, let's have a look at this, and went through the Tobey Maguire and then the Andrew Garfield. And yeah, then they also said, yeah, they ain't no Tom Holland.
Yeah.
It's harsh. It's really harsh. One thing that I find interesting, and I don't know whether I am disappointed with it or not, is that I absolutely love the origin story portrayal in this. Mm-hmm. I find it a lot more solid than the Tobey Maguire one.
And in Tom Holland era, we don't find out, because I don't think it's relevant to anything that's going on.
It's interesting that in the reboots, they've always done the origin story, but Tom Holland didn't get an origin story. And yeah, it's probably close enough in everyone's minds that... sorry, now what year did...
Civil War was 2016. And
okay, so it was only 4 years after the Andrew Garfield origin. So it would have been well and truly fresh in people's minds, I guess.
Although Homecoming a year later also doesn't go to any lengths to explain anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It, in places, and early on, there was a spot where I thought, I'd forgotten the whole made for 3D environment. There's a couple of very gratuitously, that money shot was for the 3D audience. I'm kind of glad that that's gone away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even in 2D, it took me completely out of the film.
We've been over the 3D era here on the podcast. One of the two podcasts, I can't remember which, but it never worked.
No.
And it still doesn't.
No.
Can you believe that there were television producers banking on it possibly being useful for sport?
No. All right.
I can. Grifts are so easy to fall into.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have anything else you wish to say about that film?
Other than gratuitous 3D shots that I don't think I picked out, other than possibly that last web-to-camera shot, which I suspect might look more impressive, the scale of it in 3D, and also on a much bigger screen. CG, very competent.
Yep.
The acting, very competent. It's just a very reasonable film.
I confess I am not a fan of this particular costume's head. The goggly black eyes just don't quite work for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I think that has had a lot to do with the fact that ostensibly he made it himself. And they did show the glasses concept. Anyway, I like it. Good film. Good film. So we're moving on then.
The following segment is sitting on my head. Please get off my head. And there's not a whole lot to move on to. Entuos Ferratu said after last week's podcast that he may have missed the engagement hooks from the week prior, because he usually listens to these while he's at work. So, possibly a little distracted from
the competition. Yes.
The
one that's still running.
That nobody's responded to still. No.
The truth is, we are down to one listener.
Oh, I don't know about that. I've seen the analytics. We do get listeners. We do get downloads. We get downloads.
Yes. It's our core group of people who feel sorry for us, so make sure they at least download so it looks like people are listening.
The YouTube gets a smattering of views, but I can tell that the listening time isn't long, because there's clearly someone in there who's watching all the way through, because otherwise the average wouldn't be as high as it is.
Right.
But
we're shouting into the void.
Yeah.
And the void sometimes shouts back.
But that's how it is.
That's how it is.
We're not doing it for our listeners anyway, are we?
We are not. We are not. But it is getting to a stage, I confess, and this is possibly something that should be discussed off-air, but we're going to discuss it anyway. It is still that extra commitment of spending half to a full day editing afterwards is becoming a bit of a grind.
Pushing the editing into the next day has mitigated but not solved the problem.
No, that's right. Anyway, so we shall keep plugging away. But I foresee an end target on the horizon, like reaching X number of episodes.
I'm okay to keep going, and it sounds like I won't be the one who gives up first.
That's
on the
right.
other hand, my job is put a tagline on a piece of cover art and then edit the text and then have a script do most of the work of getting the YouTube version up, and then do something witty on Twitter at 7 or sometime after 7.
Yep.
Or quite some time after 7.
Yep. Mind you, I would not give up the viewing time.
No.
It's just whether we would actually podcast.
No.
We'll see what happens. I haven't given up yet.
No.
Anyway. Yes, so a thank you into Osferatu and all our other listeners who are out there, concealed or otherwise. Good to have you on board.
I know on average how much the YouTube is listening to. I have no idea how much is actually being listened to on any other platform,
No. Okie dokie. Well, we shall move on to that end bit.
Yeah.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
It's your turn. And you're not prepared at all, are
Look,
you?
I did think about a couple of options, but none of them jumped out enough to say, right, I'm adamant to watch this more than I'm adamant to be surprised by a random selection.
And so you shall select
So
a
I'm
random?
going to do a random selection. I
Right.
am, yes. So I'm bringing up the My Movies database, which had a update on Android that has just revealed a little more information. It isn't a big release, so just ironed out some bugs, but I did notice that it does now show how complete a submission is for each.
Right.
Which it didn't used to. All right. So I'm going to give the phone a shake and see what it selects from that list. Oh. Okay. Interesting. You have not seen this, I don't believe.
Okay.
However, it is directed by Sidney Lumet.
Okay.
That name should be familiar to you.
Vaguely. There are free Sidney Lumet films.
Let's not make another competition.
No, I'm not making another competition of this. One of them is one that we've watched before.
We have.
Fairly early on in this podcast, I want to say.
I think we have watched both of, other than the one that has come up. So there's 3 on the shelf.
Yeah.
I believe we watched Failsafe.
Yes, in response to Strangelove.
Strangelove. Okay. And the other one, other than the one we're going to be watching next week, was 12 Angry Men, which we watched.
I do not recall us having watched it.
Are you sure?
I am quite sure.
You've marked it as
I've marked
interested.
it as interested, yes.
I'm sure you've watched it.
I've not.
Here we go again.
I have not.
Okay.
I know how it goes, because I've read about it, because it's an important film that you read about when you haven't seen it.
Yes.
And don't...
Okay. Well, it's not 12 Angry Men.
No.
And you now know what the other film is.
Well, yeah, because it's the only one that has you wanting to revisit it.
That's right. And it is the last one of the 3.
Yes.
All right. So, here we go. I'm going to read you the plot synopsis, and you buzz in when it is.
Buzz.
Okay, we are watching next week the film Running on Empty, directed by Sidney Lumet, and it has Judd Hirsch in it as the father, Christine Lahti, and River Phoenix and Martha Plimpton. So those are the names that will probably jump out at people, especially River Phoenix. Absolutely incredible film. Oh, spoilers. Well, I think so. I could actually be completely wrong and find out on my 12th or 13th viewing.
Wow.
Okay. I've seen it a few times. Maybe not that many times. Okay, this is the plot synopsis for Running on Empty. Not to be confused with the Australian movie Running on Empty, which this isn't.
No, really?
No, really. After anti-war activists Annie and Arthur Pope blow up a napalm lab in 1971, they become lifelong fugitives. They and their children have stayed just one step ahead of the law, running from state to state, job to job, identity to identity. But now, elder son Danny, River Phoenix, wants to stop running from a past that's not his. And to do so, he might never see his On the Lam family again. Directed by Sidney Lumet, from Naomi Fona's Golden Globe award-winning screenplay, this powerful bittersweet? Bittersweet?
Bittersweet.
I think that's meant to be bittersweet. Can you make a note of that? This powerful, bittersweet movie also stars Martha Plimpton and Stephen Hill, and earned acting honours for the emotional performances of Lahti, won a Los Angeles Film Critics Best Actress Award, and Phoenix, named Best Supporting Actor by the National Board of Review. I might cut that out. That's what we're watching next week.
It is.
We hope that you can join us next week when we watch Running on Empty. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Well, that was an ending.
There was. Sorry, did you have something you wanted to say about it? Good.
No.
Good. Wow, that was a
No,
podcast too.
I was trying to think if I had anything, and it's like, nah.
No.
Nah, that was the end. That was the end of the episode.
The end. And so is this. Peter Parker picked a peck of pickled peppers.
How many pickled peppers did Peter Parker pick?
Depends on whether his web blasters were loaded.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.